Good evening, everybody. Hope you guys are doing good on this Thursday. And we've got a little bit of interesting draft news. And when I say news, that might be that might not really encapsulate what this is. I don't know if you would call this news, right? It's not like there was a player who was clocked running a 3-second 40 time or bench pressed 800 pounds 300 times or something like that. No, nothing that would actually get us excited. Nothing that would actually make people go like, oh, wow, that guy's really good. Or wow, that guy's really going to slip down the draft boards. Nothing like that. No, Mel Kiper, the infamous Mel Kiper of ESPN, has released his first mock draft of 2023. Mock draft 1.0 from Mel Kiper. And since Mel Kiper is one of the biggest names in mock drafting, I thought it'd be fun to go over it and see what he has for the Seahawks and just briefly talk about it. I'm obviously not going to do this for every major mock draft that gets dropped, but this is something that a lot of people are going to be asking about. This is something a lot of people are going to be wondering about, and I thought I'd go ahead and talk about it just a little bit here. Now, one thing I really want to stress here. Free agency hasn't even come close to starting yet. We're not even done with the season. So expecting accuracy from a mock draft right now is not realistic, especially a mock draft in a year like this, where there's real mystery here. This is not like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be number one overall. Everybody knew it. They kind of knew it for maybe the whole year prior. This year, I don't think that's the case at all. This is not one of those Andrew Luck years or Peyton Manning years. No, this is a who knows what could happen even all the way up to pick number one year. So you put those two things together, and this mock draft may very well look extremely silly in like a month. Like the combine could destroy this mock. Free agency could destroy this mock. Generally speaking, I will admit this. Mel Kiper, when it comes to the first round, or maybe you would just say like the top part of the first round, is pretty accurate. But he doesn't get accurate until right before the draft, which is reasonable. How can you make an accurate assessment of what a team is going to draft until you know what they're going to do in things like free agency? How are you going to know what players are going to be coveted until after you get a chance to see how the league digested the combine? So this mock draft is just 1.0, just like my first mock draft was a 1.0. So understand that we're not looking for extreme accuracy here. We're just trying to get a lay of the land of the way things are right now, with the understanding that the combine in particular and free agency will change things a lot. With that being said, let's get to the good stuff here. Let's talk about the two Seahawks picks. Now, this is only a first-round mock, so it's only 31 picks. Understand that. So, first of all, I think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed with the way the first four picks go. A lot of Seahawks fans covet these top four players and are hoping that one of them falls to us. In this mock, none of them do. Now, part of the reason why that is because Kiper didn't do any trades, I don't think, in this first round. We all know there are going to be trades in the first round, and so does Mel Kiper, but he's not messing with that right now. Maybe at some point down the line, he'll start messing with trade stuff. But I think that we can safely assume there will be trades, but this mock just doesn't have any. Regardless, in this scenario, which I do think is a potential realistic scenario, the Seattle Seahawks at the number 5 pick end up with Will Levis at quarterback from Kentucky. Now, I'm going to say this up front, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. They're not going to like it, but I am a believer in Will Levis. I think he's going to be very, very good in this league. I think that Will Levis has the physical tools to excel in the NFL. I think that he ran an offense very similar to what the Seahawks run right now under Shane Waldron. And I think that his skill set will translate to the NFL extremely well. And wherever he goes, as long as he gets the right coaching and the right support, he will be a good NFL player. I know he didn't have a great year at Kentucky. I know a lot of people, especially Seahawks fans, don't really like him. I kind of get it. But there are things with Will Levis to me that are just more important than his box score stats. People always point to Will Levis's box score stats, especially this most recent year, and they weren't that good. They weren't. That's fine. But there is more going on there than just box score stats with Will Levis. Levis has a great arm. He's got some mobility. He's got pretty good size. Those are the things that get my attention. So I am a believer in Will Levis. And if the Seahawks end up with him at number 5, one way or the other, I'm going to be pretty good with it because I believe in him. And at the end of the day, this is a quarterback-driven league. And you can put everything else to the side here. You obviously have to do other things well. But it's a quarterback-driven league. And if you get a quarterback and he's good, that sets you way ahead. Now, here's the thing. What happens with Geno Smith in this scenario? We know he's a free agent. I don't think we're letting him walk out the door for nothing. So there are two scenarios basically at this point. If we draft Will Levis at number 5, either we have franchise tagged Geno or we've extended him short term. What I mean by that is it might be a 2-year deal with an easy out after 1 year. It's going to be something where you can pretty quickly get out of the deal, move over to Will Levis as your quarterback, and have Geno Smith go elsewhere. Maybe you even set it up so you can trade him next year. It's going to be something like that. Or you've tagged him and are planning to do the tag and trade after the draft. Or maybe you've already done this before the draft. Who knows? So me liking this pick kind of depends on whether or not the team has made a decision on Geno. If Geno is gone, if we've traded him for picks, if we've traded him for somebody suggested Daron Payne from Washington, then I like the pick. Then I'm happy with it. We've swapped Geno Smith for a quarterback prospect that I like, and we can use the Geno Smith draft picks to bolster the team in other areas. So we'll be recouping that one way or the other. We didn't use our number 5 pick to get better, but the Geno Smith trade will have gotten us stuff that we can use to get better. If we draft Will Levis at number 5 and Geno is coming back in 2023 to be our starting quarterback, admittedly, I don't like that so much. I won't be pumped about it, right? Because then you are basically saying we spent our number 5 pick on a player that will not help us at all in 2023. Like, there's just no way you would say that Will Levis behind Geno Smith as a backup, maybe even behind Drew Lock, maybe he'll be a third stringer that first year, I don't know, is going to help the team in his first year, 2023. You would say, even if everyone in front of him gets hurt and he actually does play, as a rookie, he's not going to be better than what Geno gave you last year and what you could reasonably expect him to give you this year. So that number 5 pick in that scenario becomes a for the future pick. And that is a bummer. And I'll admit, if we commit to Geno for 2023 and draft Will Levis number 5 overall, that kind of bums me out a little bit. I will acknowledge that. That would be like, man, I like the player, but I mean, talk about not really taking a shot at competing in 2023 if you're going to get a top 5 pick and spend it on a guy who is a year two prospect. You're not going to count on getting anything from him until year 2. So I'm cool with the Levis pick. And honestly, even if we commit to Geno, I'll still be able to say I like Will Levis, and I'm excited to see him in 2024 and beyond. But it's a little bit different when you're saying we're going to take a guy at number 5 overall who's going to help us immediately versus a guy who's just going to sit for a year. And I will admit, if Levis is sitting for a year, that's a bit of a downer to me. But hey, we have plenty of evidence in the NFL right now that it's not a bad idea to let a quarterback sit, even one taken in the top 5. So I get it. It's just not going to be super exciting. Okay, so the other first-round pick that we have that Mel Kiper is mocking, because again, it's only a first-rounder. We scroll down a little bit. Byron Young. So I don't know very much about Byron Young. In fact, I knew very little about him until I saw this mock yesterday. So Byron Young is an edge player, defensive end linebacker. So in this current defense, he would be playing outside linebacker from Tennessee. Now, you may remember we had another defensive end / linebacker from Tennessee a couple years ago. It was Darrell Taylor. And I'll tell you, I looked at Byron Young. I looked at some scouting reports. I haven't done all the due diligence yet on Byron Young, I will admit. I've got more work to do with him, but I look at him and I go, Darrell Taylor, Darrell Taylor, Darrell Taylor. That is Darrell Taylor all day right now. It's the same basic idea. He's a good pass rusher. He's got 12 and a half sacks over the last 2 seasons, 7 sacks last year. A lot of plays made in the backfield. He's explosive. He's quick. But he's raw. He's probably got some serious stuff to learn here. And he doesn't have enough mass to hold up in the run. So he's right now projects to be a rookie year, one-dimensional pass rusher, not somebody you can play reliably on rundowns. So basically, this guy, not only did he play the same position as Darrell Taylor, not only did he go to the same college as Darrell Taylor, he's Darrell Taylor. And I gotta say, my initial impression of this pick, while, okay, I don't hate the idea of taking an edge player with our second first-round pick, because you can always use more edge players, but I don't view edge as being such a need that you've got to throw yourself into it like this, because I don't look at Byron Young as a first-round pick. I don't even know if I look at him as a second-round pick. Maybe a second-round pick, but I'm looking at Byron Young and I'm saying, is this guy really worthy of being number 20 overall? Like, there are some edge players in this draft who are not gone by this 20th pick that I like a lot more. Like, I don't think he has... Yeah, he doesn't have Isaiah Foskey going before our pick. Like, that, you can't tell me Isaiah Foskey isn't better as a edge rushing prospect than Byron Young. Honestly, Nolan Smith from Georgia is probably a little bit better too. So I will grant you that there are going to be some second-round players pushed up to the first round this year because so many guys went back to college because of the NIL money. But I don't see why Byron Young should be going this high. I don't see why he should be going, again, ahead of Isaiah Foskey, who he actually has going 29th overall. So what I'm trying to say is I don't care for this one. Yeah, not feeling it. Maybe if edge rusher was some dire need where we just have to have an edge, and you honestly think Byron Young is going to be a better pro than Foskey or Nolan Smith, okay, I could at least kind of see it. But I just don't see it that way. You got Nwosu, who was really good last year. Darrell Taylor is limited and flawed as a player, but he can do some things right. He's a great pass rusher at the very least. Or, well, okay, he's really good as a pass rusher. He gives you something there. Mafe should get far better in his second year because we knew he was coming in raw. And, by the way, for the moment, you still have guys like Alton Robinson. So, I'm not seeing edge as being such a dire need that you just have to throw yourself at whatever edge player is there in the at the number 20. So, not a big fan of this one. We're going to have to see what Byron Young does. Maybe he lights the combine on fire. If Byron Young lights the combine on fire, then maybe he'll boost himself up to this range. Maybe then I'll be able to say, okay, we don't necessarily need an edge. We need defensive linemen more. We need inside linebackers more. But I have no problem with taking edge players, and if he's worth the pick, he's worth the pick. As of right now, though, I got to say, I don't really like this one at all. We already have a Darrell Taylor, and while there's a chance that this Darrell Taylor will pan out to being a more well-rounded player, like our Darrell Taylor did not, I don't see why we need to mess around with that. We have other quality edge players. We can address bigger needs and, in my opinion, get better players at number 20. I just gave you one off the top of my head. I mean, if Foskey's there, I think he's better. If you want to go another position, I mean, this mock still has Quentin Johnson and Jordan Addison, and honestly, Bijan Robinson. I think all those guys are much better prospects than Byron Young. Again, based off what I've seen, which is limited. Mel Kiper, this is his job. But I think he's missed here. That's what I'm going to say about that. So let me know what you guys think. That's Mel Kiper's first mock of the year. Again, we have a lot more to learn, and Mel Kiper would acknowledge himself. The odds of this mock draft being accurate by the actual draft is very, very low. But based off the information we have right now, I'm pretty lukewarm on it. I'm okay with Will Levis, although context matters. I just can't imagine Byron Young being worthy of being number 20 overall right now. All right, I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. I'm streaming tonight on Twitch. Going to start a little bit later tonight. Should be doing a lot of Lego Star Wars. And if that falls through, I don't know. But we'll be trying to do Lego Star Wars. Hope to see you guys there. And yeah, go Hawks.